Hello metal guys, gals, and whatever you are, welcome to Rauta. This is Jerry, and this time I'm gonna talk to you about Inferno Festival 2024 taking place in Oslo, Norway this particular Easter. If those facts are right, we're ready to talk about what's happening there, what I'm gonna see there, and make some hopes what I get to interview, and also go through the basic facts. So let's start doing it. Let's give this website a look and see what we have there. Okay, so first of all, let's get these simple facts straight. Norway is part of the Nordic countries, as you all know, and Oslo is the capital city. A very nice city, if you ask me. Not too big, but big enough to cater to this kind of event and all. And of course, Inferno Festival has been there more than 20 years now. Always, doing a great lineup, interesting lineup to say the least, for people who are into extreme metal. But Inferno is never just about, black metal or death metal for that matter. They're always more like classic heavy metal bands or doom bands, even sometimes flirting with rock and roll and beyond. Now, throughout the years, you've probably seen a lot of interesting bands from various genres going there, and last couple of years, 2022 and 2023, when I've been there as Rauta, doing interviews and whatever with my camera people, you've probably seen quite a few interviews already happening there, and in my opinion, some of the best ones I've done. Of course, I'm biased to criticize, comment my own work really, but at least that's what I honestly feel when I've been talking to people, say like Dom G, Warrior of Celtic Frost and Hellhammer and whatnot, and Eric of Watain. And then there are, of course, plenty of other bands I've had the possibility to talk to, like Cadaver, Murgskoog, Audium, Vulture Industries, and a bunch of other bands. But more importantly, of course, it's a metal festival with nowadays 4 days of activity. That is, you have a lot of bigger and smaller and, of course, mid-sized bands to play there on various days. And then you have these pre-parties. Basically, the whole festival, even if you want to really get the full deal, is more like a week rather than 4 days. Not saying that 4 days is more than enough. I mean, when you wake up early and you stay up late and you get to see a lot of bands, you will have your feet aching, and you're probably having sleep deprivation because you're having so much good time with friends and maybe some new people around too. I've gone through past couple of years with both of my preview and recap videos of the festivals, so this might be a little bit of a redo of those, but I am assuming there will always be some new people to check out what I'm gonna say about the festival, what things you have to consider in case you're thinking about going there and you need to get your basic facts straight. Now this interaction is being done. What do you have? The main information here is, of course, on the Inferno Festival main site. First of all, like I said, it's in Oslo. It takes place in 2 venues. I'm not talking about the pre-party places, but the 2 main venues, which are Rockefeller, the main venue. That is like a 3-floor stage where you can see those bigger bands playing, and then you have this John D club, which is more like an underground, like literally underground club, and these are connected through a flight of stairs. John D is quite small and it always features the smaller ones. Sometimes, however, it is too crowded that in case you're a little bit late for a certain gig, you might not get in until some people come out, and then the security will let you in. But that is more suitable for smaller bands. Sometimes they're even mid-sized bands, so it all depends. But basically it's like Rockefeller starts, then there's a gig on John D, and then they go taking in turns. So when there's a shift of bands, and say on the Rockefeller side, something happens at John D side, and vice versa. And John D has nice selection of beers, so it's more like a bar, where Rockefeller is more like a club. This takes from March 28th to March 31st, so 4 days. And age limit is 18 years, so if you're underage, sorry, no bonus, you're not gonna come there. And the capacity is 1,500 people. That's not too much, and it certainly doesn't feel like that, but yeah, it's quite a bit of an amount. And the official hotel is Clarion Hotel, the hub, in the middle, in the heart of the city. It's a very, very nice hotel, I think way better than a lot of us metalheads deserve. It's definitely a 4-star hotel with a really 5-star breakfast. I fucking loved it, and I'm quite of a big eater. You probably know it because of my powerlifting hobbies and whatnot. Also, it features a nice bar and, good service and all that stuff. So even if you're having a early night flight away like I had to do last year, you still get to have your breakfast even if it's more limited. People are really helpful, so I can totally vouch for the place. I was there last year, and previous year I was one of those candy hotels, which were okay, but let's be honest about it, they pale in comparison to the hub. And that is, of course, with a discount, which you can find here on the Inferno main site. There's the explanation what Clarion Hotel, the hub, is all about. How you can access it, what kind of room times you have available, what the services, accommodations are like, and you get the prices and all that stuff. Now, Norwegian crown is quite weak compared to euro at this very moment and has been that for a few months now. So it's actually a lot cheaper than your typical imagination, going through like Norway is so expensive. Yes, it's expensive, yes, but now these hotel rooms are relatively cheap. I mean, you, like, for example, can't get a normal hotel room in Finland for this price, and to mention in the very core of the city with this kind of event where there's only like maybe 5 to 10 minutes walk, depending how fast or drunk you are, to the venue. I'm saying this is the place where people gather around. You will see the bands there. You will see some events like there has been auctions and spoken pieces there. After parties, I've been quite a few, and basically people are hanging around this very place. And then there's like grocery shops nearby where you can get your late night snacks or, I don't know, early breakfast or whatever lunch in case you missed the one that is actually taking place there. And of course on the Inferno side you will see these, tickets. There's still 4-day passes, available. The price is here in Norwegian crown, so you have to do a little bit cooling skills or your calculator to figure out how it's in your currency. I am assuming most people are either coming from Norway or Sweden, but there might be some people from European Union countries where you use actual euro, like I'm coming from Finland. Now, in total, you have to count for, flight tickets, obviously, the hotel, which isn't too bad, and what you're going to eat and drink. Now, in terms of that, Norway is a little bit more expensive than a lot of European countries. But if you have been a little bit smart and you've been planning for this trip, I mean, it's totally doable unless you're unemployed or a student or just generally having too many bills, what to do. Now, this general information gone through, you should be able to figure it out whether you can afford this or whether the lineup is interesting enough for you. And this is now what I'm going to talk about a little bit. I'm not going to go into detail of all the bands because, as you can see, there are quite a few. So let's go quickly what's happening, for example, on Rockefeller side. So this started with the Convent, which has been previously here. It's doom death band from Denmark, if I recall correctly. Pretty okay. There's a pure woman growly energy and definitely worth seeing. It's not my favorite kind of music, but I've seen them a couple of times and I would say, yeah, go for it. Then Keep of Kalesin, one of the actually bigger, not the biggest among the biggest of Norwegian black metal band, also Eurovision candidate among other things a few years ago. They're gonna play already at 6 o'clock. That will be my first time to see them, and it's gonna be interesting, even though I'm not actually the biggest fan of the later materials, but the 2 first albums are still a killer. Nordgivel are, again, something that I want to see. They played one of the best shows, what I saw at Steelfest last year. Made interview at Inferno, though, and they made a good album, and also they're really, really good and fierce live. Something to keep your eyes peeled for. Candlemas, a Doom legend, is there. The next to last bigger band on big stage. If you're a Doom fanatic, especially the older epic kind, you're not gonna miss it. And Comfort, which I saw 2022 at Inferno, was really good. One of the best bands, maybe the best for me in particular that year, and that was really, really good. They're headlining now, which is pretty interesting. On John D side, where they're smaller bands, you will see these not that big names there, but Cattle Decapitation, which released a new album last year, is actually there, like the headliner. Could be really on the bigger stage, but I guess a lot of people are coming here for mostly a black metal ones. So Comfort, Nordgivel, Keep of Kalesin will be the ones that are taking attention, but then you have these Doom names like Convent and Candlemas. So Cattle Decapitation's Grind Death approach will be a little bit a different kind, but I think it's definitely worth visiting. Then you have these smaller clubs like Goldie, Vaterland, and Brugata. I haven't been to these places actually. I don't know how they are, but they already start as early as 1 o'clock, which means I'm usually gonna miss them. That happened to me 2 years a row, even though I tried, but sometimes I have other things like interviews going on or sleeping a little bit late because I've been already out up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you get the idea. Now for Friday, it starts with Arthur Brown, something that I don't know, can't really comment, but which is curious that Ultimas, the superstar band featuring members from Cryptopsy and of ex-Morbid Angel, etc., and they are doing a show, and they're having a new album out this spring, so it's gonna be interesting. Personally, big fan of Morbid Angel, especially the early years when Dave was still in the band, and his voice is, in my opinion, probably the best death metal voice out there. And new Ultima's album sounded, called Epic, actually quite good in my opinion, maybe better than the first album, so I'm kinda interested to see them for the first time. Now, Carpathian Forest, a black metal legend from Norway, is going to play half around midnight time of the evening, not midnight, and they have also proved that they kick ass these days in terms of black metal. Seen them at Steelfest and all, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And then my first time to seeing Solstafir, something that I've tried to see so many years, even when they played Finland, but couldn't make it. And it's gonna be interesting because their latest albums have been something like very, very special to me, even though it's not like my typical stuff. So now I want to see how these Icelanders are gonna kick ass. It's gonna be a special thing for me, and who knows, maybe if I get lucky, interview would be happening, but at the moment I really don't know. And then this evening is done with At the Gates, the legendary Swedish melodic death or melodic death trash band, which I just like a lot. Seen them many times, interviewed them once before, and yeah, in a way, probably one of the favorites of melodic death metal bands. Seen them a few times, always solid live, so it's going to be interesting. Now, John D side, you will see more smaller bands, more on the experimental side of things like Amber Conscientia, Vorga, Extermination, Dismemberment, Montar. None of these are exactly big, but they're smaller underground names which you probably want to put your ears and eyes on. Vorga's latest album, for example, sounded pretty good, so let's see how it is. And then you have these smaller bands on Vaderland Rock in Brevgata Husbar. The only bar I've been on these smaller pre-clubs or whatever, which might be also your after-party places, are Rock In, and that is actually pretty nice, a metal bar. On Saturday, evening is opened with Saur, a United Kingdom-based kind of a pagan black metal band, can we call it? And I think it's actually pretty good, so definitely interesting. Orbit Culture I only know by name, I can't really comment it, and Me and the Man is the side venture of Behemoth's main man's band. I haven't heard it, some people seem to like it, but what I've gathered, it's not so much for the extreme metal audience, but will be interesting. And then Borgnagar will be there to warm up for Dimmu Borgir, so another set of Norwegian bands, big names here to do your evening. Dimmu Borgir was really big on Beyond the Gates festival in Bergen last year. Not really my cup of tea, but I mean, they are solid in what they do. And Borgnagar was, doing their progressive Viking metal stuff in 2022. Midgård's Blood delivered solid stuff, and I did, in my opinion, an interesting interview with them. So give it a go if you are into progressive Viking metal stuff. Then on John D side, we have smaller bands like Den Gjord, one of the newer bands, promising name, and In Twilight's Embrace, which is a good band from Poland. Definitely worth checking out. And Cold, these were gonna be my personal interest because I've seen Cold in at Inferno in 2004, and they were the Glutso. So it's like suddenly 20 years later I'm gonna see them again in Inferno. At Inferno. It's gonna be interesting. Now on the smaller side, you will see a band like can't really comment much of them. Mattermortem is out there with a new album, and then there's smaller bands which are there with not 2 or 3 clubs, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different clubs. So you're gonna be busy bee if you're gonna make them all. And once again, once we're done by Sunday, you will have Misturving from Iceland, good solid modern black metal. Winterfyllet from, if I remember correctly, UK, doing black metal. Cynic doing their own set of death metal with a twist. Then Fintroll from Finland doing their only pagan troll metal, what do you want to call it, and Toke from Bergen finalizing the set. They actually played 2022 as well, so regular visitor here. And John D is then again featuring bands like Goldbrand, also from Norway, and Dödsrit. Can't really figure, was it from Sweden? Pretty good of a band anyway. And then Thunderfire, Bellwitch, and then you have these pre-parties with some smaller bands. You're gonna figure it out if you want to listen to them and if you can make them. So quite an interesting list. But one thing that Inferno always seem to share, and this probably comes to no surprise if you've been a regular visitor or following the news at least, a lot of the biggest names come from Norway. So sometimes it's so funny that Inferno is really, milking Norway for Norwegians and Norwegian black metal fanatics. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but it's sometimes quite funny that, more or less the bigger bands are not always, but very, very often coming from Norway. I mean, for example, look at the list. Here the main band is come far from Norway. Nordjævel is here from Norway. Here at least it's curious because the only Norwegian band on Friday is Carpathian Forest, but still relatively big name. And then you have on Saturday Borgnagar and Dimmu Borgir, on here on Sunday Toke. No, nothing wrong with these band selections. I think they're very solid. Toke, seen them a few times, always solid live. And of course these bigger bands, I mean, they know their shit. They know what they're delivering. They know what to expect. And of course, like Toke is out with a new album. So I mean, late 2023 and all. So of course, a lot of these names make a lot of sense. Dimmu Borgir is something that people are probably waiting to do some kind of a comeback after Ionian, which is already out like a few years. But yeah, this is kind of a mixed bag of goodies for a lot of people. While the focus is a lot of black metal, there are death metal names, there are grind names, there are names that are like from Doom and beyond. And it's going to be interesting selection. I'm going to be brutally honest here. There are not too many of my favorite bands or bands that I haven't seen before. But overall, I'm saying this lineup is good. It's not probably the best in the pile. I think I have better festivals in those terms for me this year. But that's not to say you should go there. Now, I've been to Inferno 3 times and always had really good time. Whether it's about meeting old friends or making new ones, seeing the bands, enjoying Oslo in general. It's quite warm, by the way, for Easter there. And in general, the feeling is very good. You're around like-minded people. You're going to have random talks with new people, strangers, having expensive beer and all that stuff. And then, of course, there are a bunch of museums and places of attraction in case you want to go around Oslo to get part of Norwegian history, Viking history, or just, museums of art. Like, of course, there are art museums for painters who have created some of the most known art in, Norwegian history and all. So whether you take it as a trip to Norway and Oslo in general as like, I'm gonna do a little bit of sightseeing, I'm gonna visit a new country or a new city. Yeah, Oslo is very, very fine city for that. Whether it's about just focusing solely on metal and getting sync in with this metal stuff, or maybe getting a random tattoo done at Inferno, buying a couple of vinyl or CDs on the go, yeah, you can do it all. So it's an interesting 4 days event personally, because there are lots to see, lots to happen, and in general, of course, you are gonna be, immersed in all this metal thing. It's not for everybody. Those who hate bigger festivals, then again, I can't really compare Inferno to Wacken and the like. But I mean, those who like dislike too much crowds and prefer smaller clubs, then Inferno probably isn't for you. But then again, no festival is. But if you're like disliking big festivals, but you want to see some of the bigger bands, well, Inferno is that kind of stuff. So it's definitely for the same kind of people who are like dreaming to go to Steelfest or Beyond the Gates. But of course, each festival have a little bit different focus, what kind of bands, which names they're bringing and all. Now, I hope to have given you the basic information. Also, you need to consider, you fly to Oslo Airport, Gardermoen, then you take the train, which takes something like 20-30 minutes to the central area, to the train station and whatnot. The hub is like 5 minutes away. What is only worth mentioning is that this train from airport to the city central and back is a little bit on the costier side. Not too much, but consider it like a Norwegian price tags. And everything else is, like I said, a little bit more expensive in Norway than in many other European countries. But consider this, like I said, Norwegian crown is not very strong at the moment, so you're probably having good time nonetheless. But in case you are wondering what to do, you will have festival, conference, art exhibition, tattoo fair, all the information here. You just need to get the pig ticket, you need to get the hotel, which you can get here for the code. There is somewhere the code is mentioned here, like if you go there, blah, blah, blah. And in case these are already booked, there are plenty of decent priced hotels nearby. And get a look at the Oslo map, like how it looks like, and you will figure it's not very big in terms of, central area. You get to figure out where to walk, how much time it's going to take and all that stuff. And of course, if you get to see me at Inferno, come to say hello, pull me by the sleeve and all that stuff. I probably will have a time for chat, but if not, well, another time then. Daytimes, interviews and random Oslo wanderings and beers and good talks. Evening times, it's gonna be bands and all. So maybe see you there. I will be there with my crew and my friends, and I hope to see you there as well. Now, if you have questions about the festival and general experiences, see my previous videos or just drop me a question in the comments box and I'll answer you as soon as I can. Take care and bye-bye.